Welcome to the McAfee Center Stage webinar series. My name is Austin Ortega and I'll be your facilitator. Our presenters today are Akshay Parab and Wesley Palmer. Akshay is a senior technical support engineer with a master's in computer networking from San Jose State University. Wesley is a technical support engineer with a bachelor's degree in information technology with a focus in network administration. Both are incredibly passionate about network security. So everyone, let me turn you over to Wesley and Akshay.
Hi everyone, this is Wes Palmer. I'm going to be covering our McAfee Linux Operating System section today, and let's go ahead and get started.
Starting on page 28 of the MLOS NSM installation guide are detailed instructions for transitioning from a Windows-based manager to the new McAfee Linux operating system. When you first begin, you will want to ensure you are running NSM software version 9.1.7.77. Not only is this our most stable release, it is also the only version currently available on the download page. Due to licensing, McAfee is no longer able to provide software which includes MySQL database. As such, we have transitioned to MariaDB, which is included in 9.1.7.77. Next, you will want to take an all tables backup from your Windows Network Security Manager. This can be accomplished from the NSM GUI as seen here. Simply give the backup a file name and click Backup. After this is done, you will want to set up and configure your MLOS NSM appliance. Configuring the appliance is straightforward, and step-by-step instructions can be found on page 22 of the NSP Manager Appliance Linux Installation Guide. After this is done, you can transfer your all tables backup file over to the MLOS appliance using an application such as Bitvice for use with SFTP. Once here, the file can be used to restore the NSM database on the MLOS appliance. Page 35 in this documentation details using the run db restore script that will restore your NSM. To begin, sign into your appliance and stop the manager service by typing manager stop. Next, execute the db restore script by typing run dbrestore.sh. Specify the backup file name at the restore file prompt. Next, specify the database user and password at the next prompt. With this, the database restoration process starts and a success message is displayed at the completion of the process. In order to illustrate the upgrade process for the NSM, I've recorded upgrading a virtual McAfee Linux Operating System Network Security Manager appliance in my lab. Alright, so to begin with our upgrade, we're first going to download the installation file that we need. So to begin, go to the McAfee product downloads page, filter to the network security category, and then since I'm upgrading to a 9.1 version, I'm going to go to 9.1 Network Security Platform Manager. Alright, and now I'm going to the installation media here, and I'm going to download the NSM 91777 setup.bin version. Now there's multiple versions here. Make sure you get the right one. We're looking for the setup.bin. Make sure you're getting either the NSCM or the NSM. In my case, this is just an NSM, not NSCM. So just be aware of what you're downloading. Next, you're going to transfer that file over to a Linux machine if you're not using a Linux machine already. This needs to be separate from the MLOS manager. So what I've done is I just use WinSCP to transfer that setup.bin file over to a Linux VM I have set up. As you can see, it's right here. Now I'm going to SSH into the MLOS NSM. One thing to note about that is that you cannot use PuTTY when SSHing into the client. So you have to use either Bitvice or TerraTerm is another one that works. I prefer Bitvice, so that's what I'm using today. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. All right, and just to show you what current version I'm on 9.1.7.75, and I'm upgrading to 9.1.7.77. All right. So to begin, we're just going to type in upgrade, and then we're going to type in the username of the secondary Linux machine on which the file is stored. So that's just going to be root. Then the machine IP address. And then the file path to where I can get the file. So that's going to be and this is now going to ask me for the root password, and that's of the secondary Linux machine. All right, so that's going to transfer over the file. Now it's asking me for the NSM appliance admin password. So right now we're just going through the setup wizard. It's going to ask a series of questions, and you just have to answer those questions. Typically, we can keep the default settings. All right, and that's all there is to it. As you can see, I'm now on 9.1.7.77, and the installation has completed. So that is a successful upgrade of the MLOS NSM appliance. Hope everybody learned something. I'm now going to demonstrate how to gather an InfoCollector log file dump from the MLOS NSM appliance. Okay, so to begin using the InfoCollector on the MLOS appliance, we're going to want to SSH into the appliance using Bitvice. All right, I'm going to go ahead and log in. And the nice thing about Bitvice is it has an SFTP client built right in. And when I log into the SSH session of the MLOS appliance, it also opens up the SFTP browser. So that's nice to have right there, and we will need that in order to get the InfoCollector log files off of the appliance. So when you need to generate an InfoCollector for support, the first thing you want to do is run the script. So we're basically just going to type in run InfoCollector. All right, so now it's going to ask when do you want or what date do you want to start the collection from? So if I want logs from 3 days ago, and today's the 26th, I would want to put all right, and then what date do you want to end the collection on? So I'll just put today. And here you can determine what files to collect. There's a default items, and this tells you what the default items are. I'm going to hit no here just to show you what the different options are. So collect manager logs, configuration backups. If I want to keep it smaller and I just want to look at the log files, I don't need those, so I'm going to hit no. Audit log backups, sure. Manager configuration files, definitely. System faults, of course. Sensor logs, no, don't need those. I'm just going to look at the manager logs. And compiled SIG files, sure, let's do that as well. And that's all there is. Right now it's going to go ahead and back up the files, and it's completed. So it created an InfoCollector dump. What we need to do now is collect that file. So that's where the SFTP browser comes in play. On the right hand side is the manager appliance remote files. So in order to collect the info logs there, I'm just going to go back to the root folder here. I'm going to go to the OPT folder, and then I'm going to go to the SCP files folder. And as you can see here, the InfoCollector logs have been generated into a zip format. And to get those, I'm just going to copy those to my PC. And just like that, it's done. When using the MLOS NSM, the following commands will be useful to remember. The manager stop, start, and status will stop, start, and show the status of the McAfee Network Security Manager service. Set network config, which you will use during the initial installation, will walk you through the network configuration wizard. Show OS version will display the current McAfee Linux Operating System version. Note that this is different from the NSM software version. And lastly, the manager shell has Linux troubleshooting tools built in, such as TCP dump, traceroute, and top. In this section, we discuss re-imaging the MLOS appliance. Starting with software version 9.1.7.77, McAfee engineers will be providing a zip file that is able to be extracted directly to a USB stick in order to create a bootable USB. Once this bootable USB has been created, instructions on page 31 of the MLOS NSM installation guide will walk you through the re-imaging process. While physically at the NSM appliance and the newly created USB in hand, start at step 1. Connect to the console of the appliance and log in. Insert the USB drive. At the terminal, reboot the appliance by executing the reboot command. While the appliance is rebooting, press the F6 key multiple times to enter the boot menu. Select your USB drive as the device to boot from. Once the McAfee Linux operating system is loaded and files copied, a prompt will show to remove the USB device. Once removed, the appliance will reboot and the install will have completed. Now to talk about policy tuning is my colleague Akshay Parab.
In this section, we will talk about policy tuning. Once you install the NSM Manager and establish the trust between NSM Manager and sensor, next step is tune the policy according to your requirement. If you are new to this product, then McAfee recommend to use default prevention policy as a starting point. Then tune this policy as per your requirement. On initial deployment, the sensor loaded with default prevention policy on all interfaces. There are a number of advantages of policy tuning. First is improved performance of NSM Manager due to the reduction in noisy alert count. Second advantage is sensor is not scanning network traffic in which customer is not interested. Another advantage of policy tuning is helps to reduce environmental specific false positive alert. Attack page will show alert information in which customer is interested so they can take appropriate action against triggered alert. In policy tuning process, we disable the signature. Those are irrelevant for the specific network environment. So it helps to reduce size of the database. Ultimately, reduce the time required for database maintenance activity like tuning, pruning, and backup. Here is an example of policy tuning. There is a possibility the signatures included in the default prevention policy are not applicable for your network environment. As you can see on a screen, default prevention policy has lots of policy violation category signatures. For example, in your environment, using a LogMeIn application is completely acceptable. The signature highlighted on a screen get triggered on the basis of usage of LogMeIn application. Keeping this type of signature inside your policy will create unnecessary noise. Disabling these kind of signatures will reduce the load on a sensor and help to improve overall performance. The sigset push process can be divided into three main stages: compilation, transfer, and applying. Once you initiate sigset push to the sensor, you will see a pop-up window with a percentage number. This percentage information is very useful to find current stage of the sigset push. If the sigset push is failing between 0 to 55%, then there is an issue at NSM level. If it is failing between 50 to 95%, then there could be an issue related to the network or NSM and sensor connectivity issue, or it could be related to the SNMP protocol. Sigset push fails after 95%, then it's indicate issue at sensor level. When you face sigset push failure problem, this percentage information is very useful while opening a case with the McAfee technical support team. In this section, we will talk about reasons related to the sigset push failure. There are a number of reasons for sigset push failure, but in this webinar, we will concentrate on the sigset push failure due to the memory allocation issue. Sigset is one of the main components that identify attacks and help to protect against the attackers. In every new sigset release, McAfee signature teams add number of signatures. Those are related to the newly discovered vulnerabilities. Due to this reason, sigset size is getting increased. And if the sensor doesn't have enough space to accommodate newly added signatures, then result in sigset push failure. To handle this problem, engineering team release enhanced memory allocation sensor software for all our sensor model, which resolve the issue for NS series and virtual series sensor model. But in case of M series sensor model, due to the hardware limitation, even after using optimized sensor software, there is not enough space to deploy sigset. To handle this issue, short-term solution provided in the form of light sigset version. In this section, we will talk about newly introduced feature for the sigset push at the NSM level. With our previous release of NSM, if the customer want to use light sigset version, then they have to disable the automatic download and deploy option for the signature set. The customer has to download light sigset version manually from the McAfee download server. If the customer environment has mix of M and NS series sensor, then they have to use two separate NSM manager to manage their sensor. So they can apply light sigset version to the M series sensor and full sigset version for the NS series sensor, which result in extra work to manage and maintain to NSM manager. To handle this situation, we introduce a feature at NSM level. This new feature dynamically compiles sigset on a base of sensor model. This feature is currently available in NSM version 9.1.7.77 and NSM version 9.2.7.31. As you can see on a screen, I am using NSM version 9.1.7.77 to manage AM series sensor. The customer can navigate to Signature Set Attack Priorities option by clicking on Devices tab. After that, select the appropriate device from the Device drop-down menu. Then click on a Setup field. Once you click on a Setup field, navigate to the Attack Compilation field. Then verify the priorities. If you want to change the priorities, you can, and then click on a Save button. As you can see on a screen, we were managing AM and NS series sensor model with our NSM version 9.1.7.77 and sigset push get successfully completed. In this table, we specify the minimum software version requirement from the sensor side to use signature set attack priority feature. Default signature set priority for NS series sensor is all, and for AM series sensor model, it's high and medium only. We always recommend the customer to install latest sensor software image. For more information about this feature and software version requirement, please visit KB 87554. In this section, we will discuss about maintenance of NSM database with the help of built-in utility inside the NSM. To maintain an optimum performance of the NSM database, we recommend to do database pruning and tuning at a regular time interval. Once you land on an attack pruning page, which is sub-menu of Manager Maintenance tab, you need to enable this feature by using radio button as shown on a screen. Then specify the number of alerts and days for maximum alert age. Whenever one of the conditions gets true, alert pruning will get started. Next step for maintenance of database is tuning. If you enable the schedule tuning feature, then this process will run once in a week on a specific day on specified time. For the best practice, keep 3 to 4 hours of difference between pruning and tuning. Perform pruning first, then tuning. Health check feature gives us an information about number of alerts processed by the NSM manager per second. Alert per second information is very useful to troubleshoot alert getting delayed kind of issues. The customer can use this health check feature to verify connectivity between NSM manager and McAfee server. Database health related information also available on this page. We recommend the customer to run health check before and after the NSM upgrade to verify the status of upgrade process. Before the NSM upgrade, make sure to do following steps. Be sure no automated process are scheduled or running that are accessing NSM database. Step 2. Prune and tune the database before the upgrade. Step 3. Perform the health check on NSM manager to verify there is no any kind of database related error. Step 4. Back up the database table before the upgrade. Step 5. Stop the NSM service. Step 6. Stop the watchdog service. Step 7. Leave the NSM database service running. Step 8. Upgrade the NSM manager by running NSM setup file. In this section, we will talk about how to avoid network destruction. First thing is read the signature description before making any changes to the sensor response action. It is recommended to apply newly created policy to a small group of network instead of applying to all sensor interfaces. In this way, if the policy start creating any issues, then it will not affect other group of traffic that passing through the sensor and help to reduce network destruction impact. Another way is configure the ignore rule to ignore the alert getting generated for the specific IP. This will also disable blocking for the network IP addresses and signatures. Those are part of the ignore rule. Create a firewall rule to whitelist the network subnet. The advantage of whitelisting IP address by using firewall rule is it gives less sensor resources, so you will get optimum throughput. Whitelist the file hash value for the files hosted on an internal server. Whitelist trusted domain and internal domain to avoid URL-based network destruction.
To wrap things up, I want to discuss a few key best practices to remember when working with the network security platform. First, when determining which software version to upgrade to, remember that our 9.1 software release is considered our long-term support release. This version will be the most stable and longest supported of all of our software releases. 9.2 is considered a feature release. This version contains features not available in 9.1, such as Suricata signature compatibility. While 9.2 will see future updates, they will not be as often as the 9.1 branch. Next, firewall policy assignments are easy to set up and even easier to get wrong. Remember that the pre-interface and post-interface include all traffic passing through a sensor. Using these in conjunction with an actual interface such as 1A, 1B, for example, will create extra work for the sensor, and in extreme cases, have the potential to cause network latency. Lastly, when installing the Network Security Manager, you are asked to input a series of user credentials: the Network Security Admin username and password, the MariaDB admin username and password, and finally the MariaDB root password. These passwords are required for a variety of NSM tasks and should be stored in a password manager of your choosing. Thank you very much for listening to this presentation, and have a great day.
Great stuff, guys. Lots of good information and exciting new features. As a reminder to everyone, we are expanding our customer self-service capabilities, including but not limited to our McAfee Enterprise Support app for Android and iOS, new product support pages, the support community, McAfee Support YouTube channel, social media help needs on Facebook and Twitter. You can learn more about the NSP best practices and get additional information on the McAfee Support YouTube channel and on support.mcafee.com.